When I think about forestry in Idaho, and I think about wildfire similarly, it knows no boundaries. It doesn't matter who owns it. If you've got a bug problem or a wildfire problem, trees grow. They're going to grow regardless of who owns the property. On our industrial and our state endowment timberlands, we're actively managing those lands. So those lands are on a management cycle. What has happened with a lot of our federal lands is back in the 90s, a lot of the federal policy changed, and a lot of the active management that was taking place on those federal lands drastically declined. It dropped by more than 90%, and so those forests continue to grow, whether you manage them or whether you harvest on them or not. And what we're seeing is a lot of those forests have become overcrowded. We've had situations like root rot or insect and disease outbreaks that's caused a lot of mortality. And so certainly the state of our federal forests are in greater need of management. It's not a surprise. It's something that our federal partners are well aware of and they're wanting to do something about. I think Congress is aware of it because they just have passed historic legislation to provide funding to deal with what we're calling a wildfire crisis.
Previously in Idaho, lands were managed individually by each landowner, but wildfire doesn't recognize ownership or boundaries. That is why we now have the Good Neighbor Authority and the Shared Stewardship Initiative, which the overarching effort we have nicknamed No Boundaries Forestry. Proper management is imperative for all land ownerships, as unmanaged forests are at more risk of catastrophic wildfires that can threaten communities. This is especially true as we see more and more people moving into the wild and urban interface. A catastrophic fire damages the soil, removes the vegetation, leading to increased soil delivery into stream systems, decreases the value of timber, and impacts recreational opportunities for many years to come. No Boundaries Forestry Initiative has been expanded to assist private landowners whose forests border federal lands and state forests. By working together, entire landscapes, watersheds, and communities are being made more fire resilient.
Decades of different kinds of forest management have left us a stand that's not really resilient to insects and disease or wildfire. So we're going to be having some timber activities out here to increase the resiliency of the forest by thinning out grand fir and improving the forest stand conditions and increasing the resiliency of the remaining stand. So a lot of prescribed fire will come in afterwards, but a lot of just remanipulating the vegetation out here to be more resilient. So the public will see some trees being cut and removed via logging trucks probably pretty soon, the next couple of years. And so at first it looks like quite a shift. It'll be a lot more open. And then all the grasses start coming back in. The trees that are remaining really start blossoming in terms of like just really going gangbusters, growing quite a bit faster than they were before. And they'll see a more open kind of park-like structure with a lot more wildflowers, morels, wildlife in the area afterwards. If we were just doing this as a Forest Service project, our timelines would be a lot longer as we try to bounce around between projects across the forest. So leveraging our relationship with Idaho Department of Lands has been huge because they were able to get out here while we were focused on a different timber sale, get the trees painted, help us understand what they were seeing on the ground, help adjust prescriptions, and really get a good product out the door for a timber sale industry to bid on. So by thinning out the remaining stand and making sure we have like ponderosa pine, Douglas fir, and larch that are more resilient to insects and disease and also wildfire, we end up having a healthier forest that'll maintain itself into the future.